Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Here's a headline from crypto media outlet U Today. Ripple's general counsel reacts to SEC's very dangerous legal theories. That's Ripple's top in-house lawyer. And attorney John Deaton also said, and this is a quote, that it's scary what the SEC lawyer argued, end quote. And I'll explain exactly what they're talking about. And then there was also this piece written by J.W. Verrett, who was previously on an SEC advisory committee. So he was working directly with Kim Jong-Gensler and other SEC top officials. And he wrote this piece, which it's fairly short. So I'm actually going to run through the whole thing. But I learned things in here, mind you, and I don't pretend to know everything, but still, I've been covering the SEC versus Ripple case for over a year and a half. I hate that that's even the truth. I wish this thing were just over. But I learned things just kind of in a general sense about procedurally what's going on here that I'm willing to bet most people don't know. So even in the XRP community, even though if you're listening to this, you're probably like me and you're just doing your best to stay as informed as possible. But I'm telling you, based on what JW Verrett has shared, it is impossible for people in the crypto space, including Ripple, it's impossible to comply with what the SEC is demanding. So you'll find this very interesting. But before going any further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so here's a comment yesterday from attorney John Deaton on Twitter. He wrote, "I'm getting the library summary judgment transcript and will publish it on Crypto Law. I attended in person, and it's scary what the SEC lawyer argued. Once I have it, I plan to write an op-ed as Charles Gasparino suggested regarding the SEC's unlawful expansion of Howey." And so, of course, he's referencing the SEC versus library case because it's not just Ripple whose dreams the SEC wishes to crush, or not just XRP holders either. No, they want to go after every aspect of crypto, and so they're also suing library. And so John Deaton, this is great. I'm really looking forward to seeing the specifics of this. I'm going to read that transcript. Of course, I'll be covering the specifics of that on my channel as well as soon as it's publicly available. But he's going to put that on his website, Crypto Law. And he was there in person. And I talked about that in a previous video when this was all going on. But what the SEC lawyers were arguing is just repulsive. And so we got tidbits. And John Deaton even did a live stream with Jeremy Kaufman, who is the guy running library. And it was disgusting the things that they were sharing with us that the SEC was arguing. So I'm looking forward to get the full transcript so we can see all of the painful details for ourselves. And then in a live stream after that, I think it was on Twitter. Yeah, that was the one on Twitter. I saw the vast majority of it as it was streaming live, actually. I just missed the beginning and the end of it. But Charles Gasparino and Eleanor Turret, both journalists at Fox Business Network, they were on with John Deaton. And Charles Gasparino said, "Hey, John Deaton, you should actually write an op-ed about this." And it looks like he's actually going to, so that's cool. I look forward to seeing that as well. It'll be about the unlawful expansion of the Howey test. Now, here's what Stuart Alderati had to say. This is Ripple's general counsel, so that means he's the top in-house legal guy. And just yesterday, he tweeted out the following. "The SEC argued in library, even if a fraction of people buy a token for investment purposes, you're in securities land. Does every jeweler now book a one-way ticket to securities land because a fraction of their customers are investing in the oldest commodity, gold?" And by the way, I'll just note that securities land comment, that is a quote from the SEC. That's an actual quote. "You're in securities land, girl." Oh, damn, I'm getting some sizzle from you. Stuart Alderati continues, "The SEC keeps relegating the CFTC to the kids' table. That's their regulation by enforcement strategy. Attack projects with varying resources so they can expand their jurisdiction beyond securities by telling judges with a straight face, 'We're the government, so we must be right.' Time for the industry to lock arms and defend this overreach together." No kidding. Yes, all of crypto needs to come together. And every community that gets sued, at least they end up coming together ultimately. I wish that everybody else, before they get sued, would just kind of lock arms with us, because that would be better for them as well in the future, just saying here. But I'll tell you what, if I were the judge, and the SEC came in with a straight face and is just even speaking along the lines of trying to insinuate that since they're the government, they must be right, I would just assume that they are wrong because they're the government and they're absolutely terrible. I don't need bigger and bigger government. Like, do you want more of this? Do you actually want more of this? To the people that want bigger government, I do not get it. All it's doing is harming us here. I don't want more. Have you been to the DMV? You want more of that, son? I don't get it. I mean, look, glad we got a strong military here in the United States. Super duper fantastic. Go blow stuff up whenever necessary. Outside of that, no thank you, sir or madam. We've got enough protection from Kim Jong-Ginsler so far as I'm concerned here. And then Library, the official library account, they responded to Stuart Alderati and wrote the following. The SEC arguments in our most recent hearing have to be read to be believed. We probably sound hysterical at times, but the SEC really is making an argument so broad as to include every cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's in line with what Attorney Deaton said in the tweet that I just shared with you a couple minutes ago. It's going to have to be read to be believed. Well, believe you me, I'm going to be covering that thing in all its glory as soon as it's publicly available. And I know that I'm going to be both amused and disgusted simultaneously, because that's typically what I get when I read or hear anything from these SEC asshat attorneys. That's pretty par for the course here. And so I retweeted Stuart Alderati and wrote, "Of course gold is a security. SEC coming for it next." Obviously tongue-in-cheek. And the reason I wanted to share that, though, is because an XRP community member named Mark Sullivan responded and simply wrote, "I am afraid to buy an orange." An obvious reference to the oranges and orange groves in the Howey case at the center of the Supreme Court case in 1946. I mean, should you buy oranges? You go to the supermarket, like, I want to make some damn homemade orange juice today. I'm feeling fancy. But can you? Your orange juice cocktail becomes a security. Can you take that risk, really? I can't advise it in good faith here on the Moon Lambo channel. Not even the Mandarin oranges, son. It's got orange in the name. Did you read the damn packaging? Now here we have J.W. Verrett, and I've talked about him a number of times in recent months. He is not happy with Kim Jong-Ginsler, and he is not happy with the way that the SEC is approaching crypto in general. So he was previously with the SEC Advisory Committee. He is no longer with them. He just moved on to doing other stuff. But he is the one who wrote this Wall Street Journal opinion piece, and it is absolute gold. Like, this guy, he is very insightful. And this is what I was referencing at the outset of the video. Like, he shared things in this piece that I just did not know was the case. Well, obviously, he's working firsthand. Like, he has the actual experience to know these things. The typical person wouldn't come across this knowledge normally, and so here we have he's sharing it, and so I'm picking it up, and I'm sharing it additionally with you. Let's spread the word here. In we go. And by the way, so he titled this, "The SEC's Cryptocurrency Confusion. Is Bitcoin a security or a form of money? A little bit of both and other things as well." And the piece reads as follows. After years of threatening to sue Coinbase for listing unregistered securities, the Securities and Exchange Commission is now rumored to have launched an investigation into the company and other exchanges. If it proceeds, the SEC may be on track to make a serious mistake. Skeptics wonder why Coinbase doesn't simply register the tokens it sells with the SEC. It's not that simple. Since its inception, cryptocurrency has confounded regulators because it is unlike any traditional financial instrument. Like regular money, crypto can be used to pay for ordinary goods. Bitcoin is one example, which has a growing base of thousands of merchants who accept payments directly over the currency's Lightning Network. Some leading cryptocurrencies can be sent to an app and then used to generate a QR code, which is accepted in 20 national chains like Petco, Chipotle, Office Depot, and Regal Cinemas. Last week, I used crypto tokens that the SEC has previously alleged were unregistered securities to buy an ice cream cone and a burrito. Healthy lunch, man. But here's where things get confusing. Some crypto tokens appear to function as a type of equity from which you expect profit. Governance tokens in crypto exchanges, which allow users to vote on changes to how the protocol operates, will share their profit with you. But in a way, profit-sharing tokens aren't like equity securities at all. The traditional corporate structures, boards of directors, executives, even companies, aren't present on the other end of the transaction. There's no one who could file or sign the financial statements for such projects. Let me just pause. Point that is a huge part. So who's on the other side of this? He's citing normally in traditional settings, you'd have a board of directors, executives, even companies. But they're not present here. It's a decentralized situation, right? So he says there's no one who could file or sign the financial statements for such projects. Okay, so how do you have the financial statements and how do you have the projects if none of this can be filed? You can't. That's the thing. Let's keep going through this. But like what the SEC is asking for makes it impossible to comply. Let's keep going. There's even more diversity among tokens. Some are like those you might get from a Chuck E. Cheese to play video games. These often take the form of tokens used to store data. Imagine if every time you saved a document to the cloud, you needed a token to do so. Payment for data storage is one of the more popular uses of crypto tokens. Cryptocurrency is so difficult to categorize because many of its variants blur the lines between traditional categories of money, stock, and commodities. Most are a bit of each. Some tokens can be used to store data and serve as a form of payment or an investment, all at the same time. The purpose depends on the user's preference. This is pause. Ding, 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 hitting the nail on the head. That is something that the SEC refuses to acknowledge. And that's why it's so clear for so many reasons. Anyone paying attention, you already know this. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. They are not acting in good faith. They know this. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not it's not the case. Even you go through the Howey test here, it's nothing static. Even if something is being sold as a security, it doesn't mean that in every situation it would fit the bill. As J.W. Barrett cites here, the purpose depends on the user's preference. There are XRP holders out there who use XRP as money, and good for them. They can do what they like, whether it's for the novelty of it, if they think it makes their life easier. I don't care what the rationale is. They're doing it. They want to. That's what they want in their life. I say props and kudos to you. I personally don't want to do that. I just want to hold my XRP, but that should be fine too. We should all be able to do the things that we want with it, right? That's awesome. That's exactly the point. Anyway, J.W. Barrett continues. Even if cryptocurrency developers wanted to register their projects with the SEC, as traditional public companies are required to, they couldn't. I hope you're paying attention to that sentence. Again, let me read that one more time. Even if cryptocurrency developers wanted to register their projects with the SEC, as traditional public companies are required to, they couldn't. They don't have a board, CEO, or CFO to file the requisite paperwork with the commission. Nor do they have proxy voting or shares by mail, which the commission still requires companies to provide to shareholders. And so think about this. It's literally impossible. The SEC knows it, but still they say, come in and register with us. It's not compatible with this technology. It just isn't. It doesn't work. You can't do it. And even if you could, it would destroy the nature of what it is to have a decentralized cryptocurrency. It takes away utility. This is utter stupidity. But they don't care. That's why they are sociopaths. Like, that's the right word for these people. Look up the term sociopath. I was talking about this on Twitter. They're sociopaths. These people are absolutely awful. Really grinds my gears, folks. And so think about this. And then there's all like the you got to know everybody. You have to know everybody that is purchasing. Can you imagine that? Like, so if there's a requirement, and there is, that you have to know everybody that is purchasing the token, what happens when somebody purchases the token? Like, say somebody purchased XRP from Ripple, which isn't a thing because Ripple doesn't sell XRP to, but say they registered, or they're trying to register and say, well, we are selling to these people, which they're not. Well, what if those people just like, since it's a decentralized system and Ripple can't know this, what if those people start transferring it off to their friends and family, and then they transfer it to more people, and then more people, then more people, and it gets looped back around? Like, it's impossible. And I understand it's a public blockchain, but there's no way to reasonably track all that. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. The SEC doesn't want this to work. They just want to squash it all and have control over it. That's exactly what it looks like here. Anyway, J.W. Barrett continues. Consider another facet of crypto that would shock the drafters of the 1933 Securities Act. Imagine if a bank or stock exchange were run by an autonomous, open source computer code that took deposits and processed loans. Occasionally, the code is modified by a few hundred anonymous coders around the world who collaborate over the internet to keep it running smoothly. This isn't some science fiction movie. Billions of dollars are deposited and loaned out in this way each day. The combined market capitalization of these decentralized finance developers would be enough to make them the 18th largest bank in the United States. That's pretty wild. I didn't know that stat either. But think about that. Can you imagine the drafters of the 1933 Securities Act? If you told them the what the hell? Bitcoin, what the hell? Can you imagine trying to explain this stuff to them? They would know at that time that although what they're drafting may make sense to some degree for 1933, in the future, it would no longer be sufficiently relevant. They would know that if they're being intellectually honest. Wish we could have a little time travel visit with them. Wouldn't that be fun? The SEC knows this too, though, again. Anyway, piece continues. Tokens that represent an interest in these autonomous computer banks and exchanges are some of the targets of the SEC's investigations and regulatory inquiries. They are also the same tokens I used to buy my ice cream and burrito last week. See, this is why this is so stupid. J.W. Barrett's nailing it. The SEC's position that most tokens are securities and must register or face enforcement is obtuse. It's also an approach that works to the benefit of the scammers and hucksters who have abused the crypto space. If the SEC were instead to build a regulatory regime tailored to the needs of crypto investors, as SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce has requested, we would be better able to separate the legitimate crypto projects from the scams. Defendants in SEC actions can now use the nebulous character of crypto tokens to their advantage. When cases are brought against legitimate enterprises such as Coinbase, that's a good thing. When brought against fake projects that steal crypto, it isn't. The morphable character of crypto tokens will confound cookie-cutter application of the regulated security definition. Innovations require a rethinking of federal securities law. The SEC was 10 years late to the game on delivering financial statements electronically. It was similarly behind the curve in allowing CEOs to share company information over social media. It shouldn't make the same mistake with crypto. Golf clap from Mr. Barrett, everybody. Isn't that piece fan-freaking-tastic? I love that one. And I learned stuff that I did not know, the degree to which this is impossible. So, like, I had heard stuff from Brad earlier, so I talked about that, like, as far as, you know, you can't track all the customers and this and that. But the additional information here, in terms of why it's literally impossible to do what the SEC says these developers must do, it's just like, oh. And so those types of specifics you can only get from people like this, which is why I'm happy to use my platform to kind of spread the word out there. And now you know too. That's how disgusting and absurd this is. No, I don't want more of this. No, I'm not against government. I don't like this though. I don't know why people want more of this. No, thank you. These people are not incentivized the way that the rest of us are in terms of their behavior and career goals. You understand that, right? That's why government can be so freaking repulsive here. And again, I'm not against it. It's, of course not. That's silly. That's silly land. But my gosh, you see what happens when it gets too bloated and out of control. And then when you have Congress that isn't sufficiently, setting the rules of the road as they should, everything just falls apart. And now we're in this S-word show. You're welcome, parents. I know some of you got some children's is out there, and I'm all censoring myself up on the Moon Lambo channel. You're welcome. You are welcome. I guess I'm going to wrap up there. Let me know what you think, but I really like that article. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.